Big news coming up here at Coventry United, the arrival of former Aston Villa captain Katy Moran, otherwise known as Moz. Moz, welcome to the club. How does it feel to be joining Coventry United as the new assistant manager of the ladies team?
It's great, glad to be here. Obviously, I know a lot of the girls, so it just feels like I've come home really.
What were your first thoughts when you were offered the position of assistant manager? Was it a position you were immediately interested in?
No, not initially. I think obviously my first and foremost was going to try and play again. Come down a couple of weeks, I had a look at the club, and then obviously Jay put it to me. I went away for a couple of weeks, had to think about it, and it was a no-brainer. I couldn't turn it down really.
Well, you've taken the decision to end your playing career due to a number of lingering injury issues. Was it a tough call to make? Was it the right time to end your playing career?
Yeah, been injured now 16 months, so it's been a long process. I'd probably say the last 2 months it's probably had a knock-on effect and affected me probably a lot more than what I thought. And I spend a lot of time with Jay, so Jay could see that. So yeah, it probably is the right time. I've never been a hanger-on, so I've always thought when the time's right I'd like to go and end out on a high, but obviously being injured is not really high, but I think coming here it's made it a whole lot easier.
Well, talking of highs, what moments will you look back on when you remember your career? What memories will you fondly look back on?
Definitely the first season. I think we won the league, the county cup, and then we won the League Cup as well. And then obviously I got made captain 3 years ago, so that was a big moment. Obviously I won't forget moments like that, but yeah, it was a great time. I won't forget it.
Well, how's it feel to be coming, well, I suppose it's a homecoming really, coming back to Coventry? Obviously you played for Coventry in the previous Coventry City name, and now with Coventry United, how does it feel to be back with the club? It's
a bit strange because there's still the similar faces that were there probably 8-9 years ago, so it's nice, you know. I think the girls are a great bunch, you know, a few additions, and it's going to be a good season. I've got a good feeling.
Well, taking your step into semi-pro coaching must be daunting for anyone. Does it help that you'll be working with a manager and players that you know on a personal level? Because of course you know Jay and a lot of the other players from your time here previously with the club. Yeah,
I think obviously it's my first coaching, managing role. It's never something that I've been interested before while playing. I've always said I'd do it after. The experience of Jay, especially, I know she's been through the ranks, she's been put through the mill with the reserves and obviously first team last 3 years. Jo, I played with back in the day at Blues, so I know Jo, and she's still playing at the highest level, so there's that much vast experience that I can learn from, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, talking of experience, there has been a lot of experience added to the coaching side. Of course, you've mentioned Jo Potter, the new head coach and England international. Of course, she arrived at the club last month, so surely this has to be one of the strongest coaching teams in the National League.
I'd like to think, hopefully other teams will look at things like Coventry going places. Obviously I've heard on the street and obviously on social media that signing Jo and Jay together will be a strong force, and hopefully I can only add to that.
Well, the top 3 coaching personnel at United are now all female. It's not as common as you may think. The manager, the head coach, and now of course yourself, the assistant manager, all female. And again, all female hierarchies aren't too common in the women's game. Also, what do you think the benefits are of having an predominantly female coaching setup?
I think females relate to the players a lot better. Obviously, me, Jo and Jay have all been in the playing situation. We know how it feels to be dropped. We know obviously how it feels, the highs and the lows. So I think that experience also helps, and you can have that bit of camaraderie in the team as well. So yeah, it's all great. It's all great stuff.
Each coach, of course, brings their own style to their role. What can the players and the fans expect from you, and what kind of coach will you want to be? What sort of approach are you going to be taking to coaching?
Probably initially I'd like to get to know each player individually and just obviously know their strengths, and each player is dealt with differently, so I wouldn't speak to one player like different to any other, but I think the way you speak to them is always important. I think it's collecting my experience to try and pass it on to them. I think during the game you can kind of reflect on my own past experiences and pass my knowledge on to them, and I know like Jay, I think she'll respect my decision. We both trust each other, so yeah, I think it'll be great going forward. And
finally, what do you want to achieve with Coventry United, not just this season but along your journey with the Red and Green Girls?
Obviously you've got to aim for the top. I think obviously the club has made leaps and bounds the last couple of seasons. I think it's always been the nearly story, so hopefully this season it might come off. Obviously himself, Jo and Jay, it'll be a great team, so hopefully we can push the team through.
Well, Moz, thanks for joining us and welcome again to Coventry United Ladies.
Thank you.
And now a word with the Coventry United Ladies manager, Jay Bradford. Jay, changes are expected in the close season. There are, of course, a number of new faces to be excited about, but the coaching additions so far have been incredible. And today we can announce the signing of former Aston Villa captain Katy Moran as your new assistant manager. Tell us your thoughts on the appointment.
Obviously, I'm excited. You know, it's been one of those discussions that's probably been ongoing for 5 years, maybe. It was one of those where you kind of, you know, I obviously got into coaching earlier than most of, you know, my other friends because they were still playing, and it was always a conversation that once she'd retired, she would be happy to join me and my staff wherever I was at that time or whatever I was doing, and that, you know, that was something that I always kind of had in the back of my head, and I think it just so happens that now is the right time for her to step away from playing, and obviously I had a vacancy anyway, so yeah, the two things have come together quite nicely.
In the last month, you've snapped up 2 high-profile coaches with vast playing experience. Of course, Joe Potter last month, Mozza now. Was that a particular attribute you're looking for in playing experience when you were appointing your new staff?
Probably not initially, no, but I think it helps. It certainly helps. I think it helps the players engage with the staff a little bit more. Maybe, you know, I obviously haven't got that playing experience. So, you know, I think, yeah, it does help, and they add an energy that I think comes from being a player still, or only just kind of stepping away from the game in Mozza's case. So yeah, I do think it helps, and it does add a bit of a zip that maybe we've lacked in recent years. But between the two of them, and they know each other from back in their Blues days, so I think the 3 of us together, I think we could be a bit of a force.
What made Mozza stand out as the ideal candidate when it came to deciding on your new assistant manager?
Obviously her knowledge of the game, you know, from playing, it is good, and she's played under some really good coaches, and I think, as I said when we announced Joe, you know, players have the ability to take those things from the staff that they've worked with previously. You know, she's obviously fresh in her coaching journey, but experience, I think, goes way beyond a coaching badge in my opinion. So yeah, and the fact that, you know, we are friends, obviously away from football, we've been friends for over 10 years, I trust her. And for me, that was the most important thing this year. I wanted to surround myself with people that were on the same page as me, but would also challenge me. And Joe's come in and done that, and I know that Moz will do that as well, and that we'll tick each other off, and we'll say, right, you know, I'm not happy with this, or, you know, could we maybe have done that a little bit better. There'll be that relationship that allows us to get the best out of each other, which will get the best out of the team.
On that note, during the Joe interview, when Joe was announced, you said you wanted to work with people that you trust, people that you know. Katy would certainly, Moz would certainly fit into that. As you say, you've been friends for over 10 years. Did that factor into the decision to offer Moz the job, and also how your off-field friendship benefit your coaching partnership?
Yeah, I probably would say that it did have an influence on it. Of course it does, because, you know, it's much easier to work with somebody that you already know than trying to get to know somebody, because that takes time, and you have to build that trust and that respect. Whereas if you've already got that, it's ready-made, and it can start straight away. So yeah, I would say it had an influence. But yeah, you know, she's I mean, obviously tonight's her first night, and she's come straight in, and the girls love her, and the girls think she's brilliant. Well,
as you say, a number of players already know Moz from their playing days. Of course, she's played for Coventry City before the club changed its name to United, so a number of those players are still here. But also the players who don't know her will surely know her playing exploits from the likes of Birmingham and Aston Villa. How did they react, the players, when you informed them that Moz would be joining your coaching staff? Yeah,
they were excited. You know, that I think they appreciate what we're trying to do and who we're trying to bring in, and they obviously, you know, they have huge respect for people like Moz who have been in the game a long time and won things, and I think that's also what we've lacked a little bit of, people that have actually won things. And between Joe and Moz, they can bring that experience in, and you know, you hope that even if it gives you an extra 1%, it's a 1% that we didn't have last year.
Well, in our previous interview last month with the new head coach, Jay Potter, Joe described herself as a detailed coach. Now, how has Joe changed the coaching routine so far, and also how will Moz fit into the new regime?
I would say that Joe has added a standard, and I keep going on about standards. Whenever anybody asks me what we're doing this year, I always say we're trying to raise standards and we're trying to be better, and I think Joe's added to that. She demands a high level of performance in training. If things are slipping, she's straight on it, she doesn't let it drop, and you know, the girls are thriving in that environment, as I knew they would. And Moz has that same mentality. You know, she's a winner, she's a leader, she's a captain, so she can bring all those attributes and just add to what Joe's already doing, but also kind of, you know, on a Sunday when obviously Joe can't be present because she's playing, Mozza will have that ability to recognise things in the game and help me, you know, find the right result on a Sunday.
It's not just the new coaches that we've seen brought in over the last couple of weeks here at United. You've been busy signing players. 5 new players signed last week alone, the likes of Janice Austin and Amy Watham, to name a few, have joined ahead of the new National League season. Are you satisfied with your business so far in terms of coaching and players? And also, what other areas are you looking to improve on before the season starts?
Yeah, I am pleased. You know, I am really excited about the players that we've signed. I think they've added a real quality and they've added a little bit of grit that I think again we missed last year. And I always say that I don't just sign anybody. I sign people that add to what we're doing, whether that's on the field, off the field. They have to add a value, like, because otherwise, what's the point in them being here? You know, they have to enhance what we're doing. And I think every single signing does that. They all offer something different and something new, and it's just freshened us up a little bit, I think, as well. So yeah, I think it is an exciting time, and I'll never say that we're done. I've always got my eye on 1 or 2 more players, and I'm still in discussions with, you know, various players. But as I said in my last interview, these things take time because you have to, you know, get to know each other, gain a bit of trust, they have to come to training, meet the staff. So it is a slightly longer process, but one that I'm happy with.
And finally, a word on pre-season. An exceptional start on Sunday, a 5-0 win over Championship side Millwall Lionesses. Can you maintain that level of performance as you prepare for a return to competitive action? And how have the girls settled back into training?
Yeah, I'd like to think we can. You know, I was obviously really pleased with elements of Sunday, but also there was things that have come out of it that we need to work on, I guess. So yeah, I am pleased, and I think we did set the bar quite high. So I have no doubt that they'll maintain that, and also we'll get more out of the group because, you know, it was only the first game of pre-season, and we were missing a couple of bodies, and we had you know, we've got a couple of injuries that are just kind of, they're waiting to come back in. So, you know, you add all those ingredients back together, and yeah, it's going to be an exciting time.